the Toronto Star. I'm Saba Eitizaz, and this matters. None of us will soon forget the year that just went by us, and we're all trying to recover from what 2020 put us through and reclaim what we lost. COVID-19, among other things, has also been a global pandemic of unemployment. World economies are struggling as millions were laid off, asked to take indefinite unpaid leave, or outright fired, not to mention the countless gig workers, self-employed, and other freelancers who suddenly found themselves without many or any source of income. And now, it's 2021. We've got vaccines, we've got the lessons that we have learned from what went down, and we've got hope that this year we will be okay, that we will be better. So how do you go about kickstarting 2021, whether it's your career, a new job, or just your life? Michelle Nadon, an experienced career coach, is on This Matters today to provide you the guidance you might need. Michelle has been a highly regarded career strategist for 2 decades now and has literally written the book on the subject. It's called Careers AF, New Rules, New Tools for the Gig Economy. And she joins me now to get down to business. Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Saba. Great to be here.
So, Michelle, we're going through a very unprecedented time. Millions have had to readjust and sort of re-examine their lifestyles and their professional lives as a result of this pandemic. And a lot of us are looking at the new year with trepidation and a bit of hope from a career perspective. What can we take away from all of this we've gone through, especially those looking to kickstart their career and turn a new page with the new year?
I'm a great believer, Saba, in recognizing opportunities when I see one. And I firmly believe that COVID-19 has given everybody an opportunity to completely reassess where they're coming from in terms of their work, their lifestyles, etc. So the Christmas period is a fabulous period where we're all allowed time for reflection and time for planning. So the trepidation piece can easily be done away with and be replaced by hope when a candidate actually goes to the trouble of preparing themselves. But most people don't really understand what preparation means. And preparation means simply at the very onset, you need to write up a new wish list of goals every year so you have some direction towards your activities. And then you need to have a really good long look at all of your marketing tools, your resume, your bio, your email signature, voicemails, social media profiles, references, cover letters. All of those need to be repackaged and brought up to market standards to face the new year. And if you do those two things, writing up your goals and organizing your marketing tools, you'll be off to the very best start for 2021.
So sort of our resolutions for our professional lives for the coming year, right?
Yeah. Some people really object to writing up goals like it's a chore, right? So I encourage people to just write up a wish list. Like, what's your professional wish list for the coming year? And once you have that list down, then you've actually got something to work with.
Right. And I want to go into more detail about that and how better we can prepare for this. But right now, Michelle, what's your assessment? What's the job market like at this point? It has to be a bit challenging, right?
The job market is more challenging than it's ever been. But in the same time, I firmly believe it's as good as it's bad. Like, I have an expression that I use with people very often. I'll say, go to your front door and open it and look outside. Do you see a problem anywhere? If you do, congratulations, you've just found a job. Because if you see a problem out there, there will be a community of interest of people who see the same problem and want to address it as well. So the job market is what it is. The big difference between this year and years before is that it's way more competitive. And that's the difficulty.
Right. And we've seen so many people lose their jobs during this time as well, or have had their working hours or their income sources reduced in some way. It's a stressful time. So any tips for how to handle that kind of shock and try to navigate some kind of positive outcome out of that if it's possible?
Absolutely. Now, the older ones amongst us in the community, we have been through economic shocks like this before. The psychology books will refer to younger individuals as experiencing, quote unquote, reality shock in their 20s. So this is the first time that new market entrants are experiencing a reality shock in the marketplace. And it is really much more severe than it has been in times past. So the very first thing, without sounding trite, is you must place self-care first. If you don't take care of yourself, your career is not going to take care of itself. The second thing that's the most important thing right now is it's really important to diversify your portfolio. There are only 4 or 5 ways in life of making money: getting a full-time job, going freelance, getting a survivor gig like working in a donut shop or heaven knows what, and also the famous that nobody really thinks about, monetizing a hobby. If you've got a hobby that you love and that you're good at, you can monetize that. So the trick here now in the coming months is to really diversify your income so it's coming in from different areas and your risk is negated or mitigated substantially.
So see if we can get some kind of a side hustle going in this difficult time.
A side hustle for 2 days a week that allows you the other 3 or 4 days of the week, business days, to concentrate on driving your freelance or your entrepreneur business.
And also, broadly speaking, you've already spoken about the challenges, but if you have any others that you'd like to talk about during this time, and how does somebody navigate job hunting during a pandemic? Since we know that hiring has decreased a little bit during the pandemic, people are losing their jobs, the recruitment parameters and dynamics have shifted a little bit, right?
Yes, they have. Now, there's a couple of things. The most important thing right now is for absolutely everybody to maintain their online presence. Okay. And that doesn't mean showing up on LinkedIn once a week. It means showing up on LinkedIn basically 3-4 days a week, and not just making posts or updating your profile, but actively commenting and sharing other people's content. That will make them feel much more warmly towards you. It will open the door to a connection that you can build on for the future. The next thing is making sure that you are prepared for an ad hoc screening call. Everybody on LinkedIn right now, there's such a spirit of openness. I've never seen it before on the platform. Everybody is really willing to engage, to hear each other's stories. So that online presence and being prepared for any kind of screening from anybody in your community is really important.
Could you tell me a little bit more about the kind of screening that you're talking about, an ad hoc screening call, and how somebody would prepare for that?
Absolutely. Everybody wants to know a little bit about your story. They don't want to know your life story. They want to know basically 3 things. They want to know who you are, as in, what do you do? Who are you now in the marketplace? They want to know, in a short sentence, what you've done in the past. And then they want to know what you want to do in the future. So it's who you are, what you've done, and what you want. And that actually translates into a profile statement or a pitch statement that is all purpose. You can use that statement in a cover letter, in an email, in an online conversation, in an elevator pitch. Who you are, what you've done, and what you want.
Right. And that brings me to the importance and the need for networking. As a relative newcomer, I remember struggling a little bit with that when I was looking for employment myself. So can you talk to me a little bit about what is the importance of networking in this job market, and what do people most struggle with when networking? I've talked to a lot of people who say they don't want to come across as intrusive or annoying. So how do we reframe our mindset to see networking in a different way?
I love this question. Okay, first of all, a platform like LinkedIn is absolutely designed to network. Okay. Second of all, nobody needs permission to belong, okay? You already belong by virtue of your academic credentials or your experiential portfolio. So it boggles my mind that people feel like they don't belong when they actually already do, and they should just step into their professional medium and be a card-carrying member of the community. But that takes us to Canadians who are, they're somewhere between really apathetic and extremely shy. It's like they're all waiting for permission to participate. And you don't need permission. You just need to get in there and do it. And at first, it's going to be really, not great. And then as you move along through the process, you're doing it for a few months, you start to get a little bit smoother. You start to feel more comfortable. And then the final piece is, and I wish everybody could really understand this about doing business, networking is absolutely necessary. You cannot make money in a vacuum. You need other people to make money. So networking is necessary. And the key to networking is just remove the personal piece. It's not personal. You're just trying to do business. And if you stick to business, that's what people really relate to online, because everybody is trying to do business together.
And where do you go to find and make new connections? Is it just LinkedIn, or are there other ways to do this, especially now in pretty much virtual times?
Yeah. When you're starting out, you usually rely on family and friends. And I would qualify that by saying, if you are using familial connections, please stick with the executive tier rank, because they know so much more about what's going on. I.e., don't take advice from your friends. They don't know what they're doing any more than you do. Okay. But networking happens everywhere. I'm known as a pretty solid networker. I started many years ago tracking people in my industry. It's like my life's mission. I need to know absolutely everybody. And if I don't, I will. So you start with your family and friends. You move on to the LinkedIn platform. Then you start getting into groups. And then if you can attend Zoom rooms in topic matters that relate to you or your job, then automatically when you're in a Zoom room, just do a screen capture, print it out, and you've got 20 new connections. You follow up the next day. Great to see you on the Zoom call. And boom, your connections have increased tenfold overnight.
These are very innovative ideas that I frankly hadn't thought about when I was doing my own job search. And also, we're talking about finding other ways to monetize and also to stand out in social media now that we're basically going to be doing a lot of this online. And I've heard a lot about personal brands. So could you talk a little bit about how we can use LinkedIn and the other social media platforms to our best career advantage, and to be also able to build a personal brand of sorts?
Okay, that is a really good question. It's one of my favorite ones. A personal brand starts long before networking, okay? It starts with the actual resume. What I'm recommending these days, of course, we've moved from content resumes, like strictly content resumes, to more visual representations of resumes. So I always recommend people choose a favorite color, put your name up top, make it a much larger font than anything else. Put all of your contact information. Don't neglect to put contact information everywhere, because people want to get a hold of you everywhere. Once you've established that basic look at the top of your resume, you can take your name and your contact information, and if you're really clever, you'll add your titles under your name, okay? So you're automatically telling people what you do instead of waiting for them to ask. And then you take that template at the top of your resume and you migrate it to a Word document for your cover letter. And you migrate it to another Word document for your references. And then you take that same image again and you migrate it to your email signature. So all of a sudden, you've got the beginnings of a brand. Then you're ready to go out to the marketplace. And when I say add your titles, that is something that I've really found that is working this year. I recommend that you add 3 what I call functional specialties, like I'm a recruiter, a career coach, and a media instructor. So I stick to those 3. I've seen other career coaches recommend that you put up to 5. 5 is good too. Options are great. But remember, people can only usually remember things in batches of 3. So I would put up 3 functional specialties, my full contact information. And for heaven's sakes, do not neglect to put your contact information on LinkedIn. I don't care what anybody says about privacy. I respect people's needs around privacy, but there really isn't privacy anymore. And if you're on LinkedIn, you're there to network. So put your cell phone up, put your Gmail account up, make sure that people can get a hold of you 6 ways from Sunday.
We'll be right back. And Michelle, what about the elevator pitch? Is the elevator pitch kind of dead, since none of us are getting too close to each other in an elevator anytime soon? What's the latest on that?
We're getting into elevators every time we sign on to Zoom calls. And so the elevator pitch, I think, is the most important thing. And going back to the beginning of our discussion, if you have your goals set up, then you're not going to have any problem. It's easy enough to tell people who you are in the marketplace now, what you've done in the marketplace in the past. But if you've written up your goals, now you really know what to tell tell them about what you're seeking in the future. And if you approach me as an executive in the industry and you give me that small pitch, I'm going to land on that third sentence and I'm going to say, oh, Saba's looking for A, B, or C. Now I can help her. Whereas if Saba doesn't tell me what she's looking for, A, B, and C, I'm left to do the math and I might not have time to do it on your behalf. So the elevator pitch is absolutely critical. And again, it gets used in the LinkedIn profile, in-person conversations, introductions on Zoom calls. Your profile is the most important piece of copy you will ever write. And do get some help with it. Make sure that you don't do it strictly by yourself, because I'm going to be able to see wonderful things in you that you absolutely won't give yourself credit for. And I'll be able to strengthen your profile just by virtue of being on the outside of you.
Meanwhile, a lot of us have found ourselves with a lot of time on our hands if we're not non-essential frontline workers. How do we use this time we have in self-isolation to use this, sort of online time that we have to polish up our skills and make ourselves more marketable? I know you've been talking throughout about this. Do you have any other tips? This is a time that we can make use of, right?
Oh, please make use of it. Like I said earlier, this recent lockdown, I've experienced economic shocks like this before. So I saw COVID coming this year. And when it hit, I thought to myself, okay, I know it's going to be quiet. What am I going to do? So I dove in deep and I spent the summer studying search engine optimization and e-commerce. Okay. And I can't profess to say that I know what I'm doing yet, but I know a heck of a lot more than what I did before. And as a result, my analytics are coming up and my sales are coming up. So the moral of the story here is lifelong learning is critically important in Canada, and you must be taking courses. Now, do you need to go out and do an MBA? Not unless you really feel that you want an MBA, but you certainly should be stacking your resume with what I call small C credentials, a webinar here, a seminar there, a $300 4-week course down from, some online entity in the States. And you add those continuously to your resume, because recruiters like myself are looking for candidates with not just strong skills and good branding mechanisms, but I'm looking for people who are into self-development, because I'm telling you, our jobs have increased threefold now just because of technology. If you don't know how to handle technology, if your equipment is not set up to do business remotely, you're not going anywhere in the marketplace.
Right. And economic times are tough for a lot of people, but there's a lot of free stuff out there as well that you can utilize.
Absolutely. And take advantage of it. I do minimum 3, 4, 5 hours a week of learning.
And we were talking about kickstarting our career. There's a lot of people who are maybe looking to turn a new page, to change professions, or to get into a new field altogether. How do people target the right job and industries for them when they're doing that?
That is such a wonderful question. I firmly believe that we all know what it is that we would like to do. Now, lots of us are prisoners of what we think we should do, and that's a real problem with careers. But I knew when I was 5 years old that I wanted to write. I knew by the time that I was 12 that I wanted to be a musician. So in your heart of hearts, I believe everybody knows where they want to go in terms of industries. So choose your industry. Now, here's a really fun trick, okay? Every industry, I don't care if we're talking about health, finance, media, every industry has an overarching association. Okay, so you find, once you've chosen an industry that you want to work in, then you go to the overarching marketing association or health association or finance association, and you look at their annual conventions, whether they're in person or virtual, and you look at all the stakeholders in that conference. And you're going to see the companies that not only are in that industry, so it gives you a brand new shopping list of companies, but it also assures you that any companies who are participating actually have money, because if they didn't have money, they wouldn't be participating. So that is a great way to find a new shopping list for jobs in an industry, is to go to the overarching marketing association, study the companies, and then start studying the stakeholders in those companies.
And Michelle, as we all know, no one is exactly at their best right now. We're all stressed and vulnerable psychologically and emotionally from COVID and self-isolation. And especially for those who are seeking to kickstart their career or find new jobs. And some even are desperate due to the circumstances, people who've lost their jobs, for example. So in a way, the power dynamic between recruiters and candidates has shifted a bit more, hasn't it? Do you think this is creating a slightly unfair or exploitative situation situation? And how does someone go into a job interview or navigate the situation in an empowering way so as not to feel like they're in desperate circumstances?
I think that COVID-19 has really leveled the playing field. Everybody's unemployed, so don't be shy, okay? I believe that there's no longer anywhere near as much shame with being unemployed or underemployed. And you can use the term underemployed if you don't want to use unemployed. Second of all, the power dynamic. I firmly believe that from a recruiting capacity, everything has actually become much more transparent. I referred to this years ago as recruiters and hiring managers. They're all playing kind of cloak and dagger games, and they covet intel on jobs and opportunities and clients and whatnot. But I think that that's been really blown open with social media now. So I think that job seekers are in a much stronger position. And I hope that they can hear me today. And I'm glad you're giving me the opportunity to say it because they are in a stronger position. You know, you walk into an interview and you think that the person interviewing you has power over you, right? That's what you think. No, they don't. You have been invited as a peer at that table. So you are equal to them. You're not below them. And then the final piece is this whole idea about victimization, okay? Victimization in the marketplace does happen. And sadly, in my humble experience, where it happens mostly is people victimize themselves. They paint themselves into corners. They don't take the chance to reach out to a new community. They're afraid to make mistakes. They're afraid to try on new personas. And I just recommend, get ahead of the process. If you have written up your goals and you've got really good marketing tools and you've taken a very serious look at your industry and you've started to research the companies and the stakeholders, and then magic of all magics, you sit back and you think to yourself about a little business case. Anybody just record this or jot it down. For every company, think about why would they hire you in particular? Why would they hire you now? Now being it fits into your career plan. What role do you want to play with this company? And most importantly, why do you want to work with this company in particular? If you answer those 4 questions out of the gate and you've done your research, your goals, and your marketing tools properly, tell me something, Saba. Why wouldn't someone take you seriously?
And that's the kind of insight and confidence that we need going into the new year as we aim to kickstart our careers or overall our lives. Thank you so much for your time and your insights, Michelle.
Thank you. A real pleasure. Happy New Year and good luck.
Happy New Year to you too. Michelle Nadon is a recruitment specialist and career strategist, and she's the author of the book Careers AF, New Rules, New Tools for the Gig Economy. That's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. This Matters is hosted and produced by me, Saba Eitizaz, Adrian Chung, and Raju Mudhar. Produced and mixed by Sean Pattenden, and our director of programming is JP Fozo. Our show theme music is by So-Called, and our episode music is by Mike DeAngelis. We want to hear what stories matter to you. Please send us comments, questions, or ideas to thismatters@thestar.ca. Please consider supporting the journalism the Toronto Star newsroom does at thestar.com. And don't forget to subscribe to This Matters on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Let's talk soon.